Welcome back to my channel. Welcome. This is the channel where we teach about topics regarding healing the mind, the body, and the soul. Welcome, guys. If you are new to my channel, my name is Natasha. Today I'm representing some of my royal ancestors because we're going to be touching today on celestial royalty. I thought I should come dressed for the part. Alright, so for those of you who have come to my channel to learn, welcome. Please kindly watch the video before this. I made a video about star seeds. This is going to make a lot of sense, alright, for what I'm about to say. Alright, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about celestial royalty, and the title of this video is Star Code into Your Light Codes, Part 1. Remember I talked about the star seeds, right? I have encountered star seeds in my consultations, in my practice, in my classes. Star seeds have generally a very different way of attaining their spiritual gifts, right? They've got generally a different way of activation, alignment, and attaining their spiritual gifts on their path, right? How would you be able to traditionally initiate someone with Syrian star codes, right? Or how would you traditionally initiate someone who's got draconian star codes? These people generally have a different way of alignment. They've got a different way, right, of spiritual activation. All right, so this is why I'm going to teach today. And the conversation is coming through my mentee, one of my mentees. I won't mention where she's from, but she's not from Africa. We got into a couple of classes, right? This was after some consultations. So the mentor, right, is there to get things going on your spiritual path. Not to say that they are going to do everything for you, no. Especially for the people who are on the self-initiation journey, right? A lot of the work is going to be done by you. Your mentor is there to get things going on your journey, to help you through certain alignments, etc. Went into some classes, a couple of classes, right? I started giving her some lessons in order to sort of like connect her guides. Then she starts having past life dreams. A lot of past life dreams come through. And that is the typical journey of the self-initiate, right? Because you are called onto the journey of remembering. You're called onto the journey of, awakening the Akash, right? Your soul library. And in her past life dream, she dreams of herself as a mermaid. So we have already established that the mermaids, they actually connect to the star system of Sirius. I think it's Sirius B, right? Cool. She's got celestial royalty. Cut the long story short, right, in one of her other dreams, the information is my star code is being converted into light codes. What's happening, Dr. Tash? So this is why I'm here today. The celestial royalties, the star seeds, you guys have got a very different way of activation and sort of like initiation, right? And it is through self-initiation, number one. Yes, it is also through the soul journey. You are on the way to activating what? Your soul codes, your ancient soul codes. Let's just break down a little bit of terminology. So my client says she's being told her star code is being converted into a light code. What is a star code? A star code, right, is a code that you come with from the stars, because your origins, right, is from the celestial. Your soul origin is from the galaxies, right, the star system. So when you come into this world and you reincarnate with your star code. You are from the stars. So this star code, it carries a lot of spiritual information about soul cycles, the Akashic records, where you have been in your past life, who your family was in your past life. It also carries information, about what your soul purpose is in this lifetime, what you have come back to do in this lifetime, or your money, etc. Carries a lot of spiritual information. That is a star code. What is a light code? Light codes. So what is light? Light is energy, basically. So packets of spiritual information, right? Frequencies that are carried through what? That are carried through light, sound, right? And what? And consciousness. How do star codes get converted into these light codes? So let's start with the DNA, right? Our double helix DNA. So in the human genome, humans generally have about 3 billion base pairs. But of those 3 billion base pairs, only about 2%, right, are used to code for proteins. To cut the long story short, in order to code for proteins, right, within the body, the DNA needs to be converted into RNA, right, and then from RNA it then gets converted into what? Into proteins, all right, and this takes place during 3 events. The first one is transcription. DNA gets converted into what? Into RNA, right, which makes what? A pre-mRNA, so a precursor mRNA. And the second thing that needs to happen is splicing. So splicing is actually editing of the pre-mRNA. And how this actually happens, remember I said the DNA, there are 3 billion base pairs, but only 2% code for proteins. This actually means the 97 or the 98% don't code for proteins. And this is what we call what? Junk DNA. So the junk DNA, to put it into simple terms, it's useless DNA. Right, so for many years scientists have said junk DNA is useless, right? But nowadays there's actually information that's actually coming out to say that it's actually not useless, right? Junk DNA can actually do a whole lot of things, right, within the body. Those non-coding regions, right, within our DNA, they actually do count for something, because you can just imagine only 2%, of that DNA is coding, and 90 something percent is non-coding. People with celestial royalty, they generally go through Kundalini upgrades. Right. So when the Kundalini starts to get activated and the Kundalini energy starts to rise, it actually activates this junk DNA. The double helix strands, they start to what? They start to expand. And when they expand, they actually activate multiple dimensional strands. So basically, this gene editing or genome editing, it basically changes how the cells process light and information within the body. So when your junk DNA gets activated, it helps you to what? Expand in consciousness. Right. So this is according to what? Metaphysics, not just genetics. Expand your consciousness. Right. Your psychic abilities get awakened and your intuition actually sharpens. All right, so remember when I talk about gene editing, all right, the DNA gets converted from RNA, then RNA gets converted into proteins. This happens due to splicing.
The spliceosome assembles on the pre-mRNA. It excises the intron and joins the exons.
The cutting of introns and the joining of exons. So what is an intron? The intron is the non-coding region. Right, so this junk DNA is made up of a lot of introns, right, which is the regions that don't really code for protein. The introns get cut out, right, and the exons, right, get joined together. They get taken through a process of what? Translation, right? So this has to do with the coding of amino acids, and then amino acids coding for what? For proteins. The star codes are being converted into light codes, right, because you're going through Kundalini upgrades. And during these upgrades, right, you'll feel as if light has entered your body, right? Some people start to feel their Kundalini sort of like shift. So the whole purpose of you going through this thing is to activate your crystalline bodies. Teaching about the 7 human bodies, but you need to activate your crystalline body. The carbon-based body, the physical body, upgrades into a higher vibrational crystalline structure. And this takes place during the Kundalini upgrading. you are actually editing or rewriting the physical blueprint. So when these light codes become activated, these light codes actually allow us into what we call higher consciousness, higher states of awareness. These light codes, they connect us to our universal divine intelligence. How are you able to remember your past life? How are you able to tap into the Akashic records? How are you able to remember that in your past life you were actually a mermaid, or in your past life you come from a royal family? How are you able to tap into your soul library? It is because of the activation of these light codes. Now you start to see that, oh, okay, I don't actually exist in a 3D reality. There's actually other dimensions, right? And right, you start making interactions. You hear people talking about meeting celestial beings, right? It is not because they are crazy. No, it is because they have already activated their light codes. So basically, your awareness starts to change, right, as your frequency upgrades, right? So science says, right, that as you upgrade in frequency, right, there's a lot of shifts that will happen, right? Shifts in temperature, right? You might start to feel temperature changes more often, having feelings, right, of metaphysical sort of activity, supernatural activity, is that you also become more aware, consciousness of what you eat. Science says that you actually naturally start to crave lighter foods, more raw foods, more high vibrational foods, foods that actually match your energetic level. You start becoming aware that, okay, if I was eating Russian, or I was eating fatty foods all the time, right? You start becoming conscious of that, because why? Russians are highly processed meats. And highly processed meats, right, according to medical science and medicine, right, they have a lot of correlations with cancer. They've got a lot of correlations, right, with hypertension. So you naturally are supposed to start craving more raw foods, more real foods. When I actually talked about how I changed my diet and I became vegan, that was just an example to show you that as you upgrade in frequency, you will have a diet change or a diet shift. You might have a nudge to change your diet, right? I'm not saying that you should change your diet. No, I'm not saying that you should become vegan. It's got nothing to do with being skinny, but it has everything to do with conscious eating, awareness, being worried about what actually goes into your foods, because you are upgrading in your consciousness. Right, so as you upgrade, when the light codes also get activated, right, it means that a lot of your psychic abilities get awakened, right? People start awakening more to their clairvoyance, their claircognizance sharpens, the clairaudience opens, they develop, they are able to channel, right? And all sorts of healing abilities actually start to awaken. And we are moving into a time, right, where your energy is going to be everything, right? So your vibration is going to speak for you more than anything. The light codes, yes, I know I've talked about the Kundalini, but the light codes can also be activated in other ways, right? There's many ways to kill a cat. It's meditation work, doing a lot of energy healing work, healing your energy centers, right? And also getting into a lot of breath work. And let me tell you something about this process. This is not it's not an easy process, and it's not a a 6-month thing or a 3-month thing. All right, this is consistency, right? It could even be years and years of you just taking instructions, right, doing what your soul team, your spiritual team, the universe, right, is guiding you to do, so that you can align. So remember, this pathway is about alignment. And I will see you next time. Bye.